Hello, and welcome to the Permission to Breathe podcast, a transformative space dedicated to providing a sanctuary where you can inhale deeply and exhale freely, embracing your grief journey unapologetically. I am your host, Dr. Tammy Isaac, here with you every Monday to offer comfort, guidance, and hope. Together we'll navigate this path, finding moments to pause, reflect, and breathe. Let's begin this journey side by side. Today's episode is brought to you by Collateral Beauty, a Black woman's metamorphosis of grief, self-love, and healing by Dr. Tammy Isaac. For generations, Black women have carried invisible burdens, grieving in silence under the weight of societal expectations and trauma. Now it's time to embrace healing, self-love, and the beauty that remains. In Collateral Beauty, Dr. Tammy Isaac invites you on a powerful journey through grief, faith, and renewal. This book will guide you to process grief and trauma with intention, discover self-love and inner strength, build deeper connections through sisterhood and faith, and embrace vulnerability, forgiveness, and gratitude as tools for growth. Take the first step toward embracing your beauty, your story, and your healing journey. Don't wait. Grab a copy today on Amazon. Hello, and welcome to the Permission to Breathe podcast, a space where we talk about grief, healing, and the moments in life that takes our breath away, both in sorrow and in transformation. I'm your host, Dr. Tammy Isaac, and today's episode is one that sits deeply in my heart. This Wednesday, March 5th, is a day of profound significance for me. Why? Because it's my birthday, but it is also the 9th anniversary of my mother's passing. Yes, that's right. She died on my birthday. And this year, it also falls on Ash Wednesday, a day in the Christian tradition that marks the beginning of Lent, a season of reflection, remembrance, and surrender. And today we're going to talk about anniversary grief. Anniversary grief is something many of us experience whether we expect it or not, right? It has a way of just creeping in. That's what grief does, period. It just creeps in. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's overwhelming. And our minds may not consciously be thinking about this date, this anniversary date, but our bodies remember. The grief shows up in our energy, in our emotions, in our physical well-being. You may think that you're okay. One of the things I have been experiencing is like just being tired. The last couple of weekends, I've just been sleeping, not wanting to do anything, trying to find my motivation. And I keep asking myself, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm not ailing, but I'm not able to produce and do the things that I need to do. And that's when it hit me when I realized, oh, that date is coming. So grief can show up in so many ways as it relates to grief, period, but also the anniversary. Sometimes you can forget that that date is coming, and then your body starts to prepare you and acknowledging that there's a significant date coming. So in this episode, we're going to explore what anniversary grief is and why it happens. We're going to talk about how it affects us emotionally, mentally, and physically. We're going to talk about the way our bodies hold on to loss, even when our minds don't. We're going to talk about coping mechanisms to navigate these tender moments. And we will talk about the psychological and spiritual layers that come with grieving on milestone days. For me, this day is filled with a mixture of celebration, remembrance, and reflection. And maybe you too have days like this, a date that maybe carries a significant weight of both love and loss at the same time. And if so, I want you to know that you are not alone. that I am on this journey with you this week. Grief is love with nowhere to go. And today we're going to just hold space for that love. We're going to talk about what it means to honor our grief, to give ourselves permission to feel and to find meaning in the tensions between our sorrow and our joy. So, wherever you are, let's just stop and take a deep breath with me. And let's begin this healing journey. Anniversary grief is something that doesn't always get talked about, yet for so many of us, it's an undeniable part of our grieving process. It's the feeling that creeps up when a specific date approaches, like the day your loved one passed away, their birthday, your wedding anniversary, or even the day of a life-changing diagnosis. It's that deep, sometimes unspoken emotional reaction to a time that marked the ending of something irreplaceable. And for me, March 5th is one of those days. It's my birthday, okay? A day that should be filled with joy and celebration, but it's also the day that my mother took her last breath 9 years ago. And this year, it's Ash Wednesday, also a sacred day that calls for reflection, surrender, and remembering that from dust we came and to dust we shall return. Anniversary grief can show up in a lot of different ways. You know, for some, it brings an overwhelming sadness, almost as if the loss is happening all over again. For others, it's a quiet, nagging weight, one that lingers in the background of daily life, but makes everything feel just a little bit heavier. And this, for me, is the way that I've been experiencing my anniversary grief the last 3 years. Now, what makes it even more powerful is that we don't always consciously anticipate it. Sometimes we don't even realize why we're feeling a bit off, or why we're suddenly more tired, why we feel irritable, or why simple tasks seem so daunting. And that's because grief isn't just something we feel, it's something we carry. It's something stored within us in ways that we don't often recognize. And so why does this happen is the question, is because grief it is tied to our memory, and our memory is deeply tied to time. So let me say that again. This happens because grief is deeply tied to memory, and memory is deeply tied to time. So certain dates become markers of loss. And even if we're not intentionally focusing on them, our minds and bodies still recognize them. So for me, as an example, these last couple of years, I have had the nagging, lingering little moments in the background that makes it really weighty for me. And especially this year, I've been completely exhausted, and I'm normally not a person who gets tired easy. I've been unable to focus. I know that there are tasks that I need to do, and the last couple of weeks, but honestly, this really started happening the end of January, and it runs all the way until I actually get to the anniversary date, where I just feel heavy, kind of overwhelmed. And this year I've been busy with work and my business that I haven't had time to kind of be intentional about paying attention to the date, and so that I could do some self-care things so I won't feel as heavy. So it just kind of snuck up on me in that little small nagging way, and my body starts to remind me, hey, this date is coming. So I've been exhausted, I've been tired, I've been a bit irritable, and all of these things have been happening. And so it's very different, I think, for people, depending on not how long you've been going through the process, but really journeying and working towards these particular dates to put some things in place so that you'll better be able to deal with those days when they come. And so for me, I don't feel like I'm right back there at that moment, just because I've been really working toward my self-care as it relates to my grief. But there are some people who it may have been 10, 15, 20 years who feel like they are brought back to that exact moment, like it just happened. And that's very possible that these things can happen. Psychologists, they call this grief emotional time travel. The way our brains relive events tied to significant moments in our past. These anniversaries are like etched into our subconscious, and when they arrive, we may experience a surge of emotions as if we're actually stepping back into that time. And it's not just about our mind, but also about our bodies too. So the nervous system, which possesses trauma and emotional pain, holds on to these dates like a hidden bookmarker in your life story, right? So even if we're healed in many ways, grief anniversaries end up reminding us that love never fades. The loss doesn't disappear, but neither does the love. So if you've ever felt a wave of grief around an anniversary, or if you've ever found yourself suddenly overwhelmed, exhausted, and not knowing why, guys, you're not alone. I'm with you. I'm right here on this journey with you. And it's important to know that this is not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign that you haven't moved forward. It's simply a reminder of the depth of your love and the impact of your loss. It is a reminder of the depth of your love and the impact of your loss. And the truth is, grief doesn't measure time the way that we do. If only it did, okay? It doesn't follow a calendar. It doesn't check to see how many or how much time has passed before deciding whether or not it should still hurt. Okay? Grief simply shows up because love still exists. I got to say that again. Grief simply shows up because love still exists. And when it does, we have a choice. You have a choice to push it away, to lean into it, to acknowledge it, and to honor what it is trying to tell you at that moment. One of the most surprising things about anniversary grief is that our bodies often react before our minds fully register what's actually happening. And maybe you've experienced this before. You find yourself like feeling exhausted and irritable and anxious, and even sometimes you can be physically unwell and you can't quite put your finger on it. And then all of a sudden it dawns on you, oh, it's that time of year again. And this has happened to me many times over the 9 years. And for me, as I mentioned before, March 5th, my birthday, but also the anniversary of my mom's death, as it starts to approach every year, I do notice little things. I might feel a little more drained, as I mentioned before, than usual. And even if sometimes I don't even get enough sleep, or I'm waking up later than before, and my thoughts seem heavier. My heart can be a little bit more sensitive. It's not always conscious, but my body knows, it recognizes the date even before I can even consciously acknowledge it myself. And this happens honestly because grief is not just about emotions. It's not just your emotional experience. It's actually stored within your body. So let's talk about the science behind why grief stays within the body. So when we go through a deeply emotional loss, our nervous system imprints that moment, right? The brain, especially the amygdala, it records grief much like it records the trauma. And here's what's fascinating. The body keeps track of time in ways the mind does not. Our bodies are amazing. The limbic system, which controls memory and emotions, can activate old grief responses when an anniversary approaches. Now, the autonomic nervous system, which regulates our fight or flight response, can send signals that something is actually wrong, even if we're not consciously thinking about the loss at that moment. And our hormones, like cortisol which is releasing during stress, can spike, making us feel tense, tired, or even on edge. This is why grief anniversaries can feel so exhausting. The body is reacting to a memory, even if our mind isn't actively focusing on it yet. And all of these things I have experienced, like moments like, oh, I feel like I can't catch my breath. I feel stressed and I feel overwhelmed. And I'm like, what's happening? Did something happen? Nothing has happened. And I'm sitting reflecting, trying to figure things out until my mind goes, oh, I know what's happening. That date is coming, right? And then I have to start doing things like breathing and taking up space, allowing or holding space for my grief and acknowledging that there's an important date coming and I want to give reverence to that date. So let's continue talking about how anniversary grief shows up in the body. So anniversary grief doesn't just affect our emotions, it actually shows up physically. And some of the most common physical symptoms include, many are already mentioned, fatigue, tension or aches within the body, your neck, your shoulder, your chest. I've had these emotions actually as of recent. Headaches, often linked to emotional stress or muscle tension. Restlessness or insomnia. I've had both. Okay. Difficult sleeping because you have racing thoughts, or waking up feeling like unrefreshed from the night before or from a nap. You have changes in your appetite. Maybe you're eating more or eating less without even realizing why. Heart palpitation, shortness of breath, where the body's natural stress response, it starts to become activated and you're trying to figure out what's happening. I'm not overwhelmed. I didn't have a situation. And then also the heaviness in the chest or even in the stomach, and that feeling of grief sitting in the body, almost as if it's physically weighing us down. And sometimes our bodies react in ways that feel completely unexpected, like getting sick around the anniversary, or having unusual dreams, or feeling unshakable sadness that seems to come from out of nowhere, but we know that is not from out of nowhere. Now let's talk about the emotional layers of anniversary grief. We know that grief is emotional, and sometimes we forget about the physical, but I want to go back to the emotional just to talk a little bit about some of the feelings we could feel. So the emotional impact of grief anniversary can be as intense and sometimes even more confusing. So you may feel deep sadness, even if you thought you had processed that loss already, and that you probably feel like you've moved past this level of intensity. It can come back again. You may feel anger, start questioning why this loss had to happen or why time keeps moving forward. You may feel guilt, especially if life has brought you joy since the passing of your loved one. And you may feel numb, even unable to connect with your emotions at all. I know for me, one of the things I have been experiencing this last 1.5 to 2 years is feeling a little bit of, I guess I would say, anger. I'm not really sure. Anger, or actually, I want to use the right language for my emotions. A bit disappointed, actually, that my mom has not been here to share in the successes that I've had, and to be able to see all of the things that I have accomplished that I know would have made her extremely proud, and that she would have the opportunity to brag. Because you know what, that's what parents love to do about their children, to brag to their friends and say, oh, my daughter did this, oh, my children did this, and oh, it's so amazing. Or just to even have her take part in some of the things that I've been doing, to walk with me through that, and to be able to celebrate with her. So for me, I wasn't feeling that in the beginning, but now these last 1.5 years to 2 years, I have had that feeling of great disappointment. And I've also actually said to one person that I felt like it was unfair that she didn't have an opportunity to brag on what her daughter is doing now. Yeah, so that's one of the ones that I am dealing with now as it relates to the emotional impact that is happening on me in these last 9 years. And what makes anniversary grief unique is that it doesn't always show up the same way every year. That's for sure. Okay. I think it has a lot to do with your context, your environment, what you have going on in your life at that time. So some years may feel heavier than others, and some years it catches you off guard, and some years you may feel, quiet, at peace, calm, maybe for a little bit, and then here comes a wave, and then it hits you unexpectedly later. There's just no right or wrong way to be able to experience it. It's just your way at that particular time, and it looks different. It can look different every year. So let's talk about what can we do when grief lives in our body. So if our bodies hold on to grief in ways that we don't always control, what can we do? What can we do about that? So here are a few things that I want to share that I think can help us. First is acknowledging it. Give yourself permission to feel however you feel. That's the biggest thing. That is the number one point of driving home for this podcast, is to give ourselves the permission and to give others the permission to feel how they feel. Because the truth is, nobody knows how you feel except for you. And if you don't allow yourself to feel what you feel, how do you expect somebody else to allow you to feel what you feel? Because they only know what you feel because you tell them what you're actually feeling. And know this, as I'm acknowledging, I also need to know that grief doesn't need to be fixed. It just needs space to be held. No fixing. Just hold the space for how you're feeling. 2 is listen to your body. If you're tired, just rest. If you feel tension or stress, if you need comfort, lean into it. Your body is carrying a weight. Be gentle with it. Okay? There are all these things. If you need to take a break, my God, take a break. I was saying, like, I can't be tired. Why? I just got up, or I haven't done that much. But you know what I did these last 3 weeks on a Saturday? Because I'm usually always doing something. I literally slept. And I kind of felt bad the first time. But then I was like, no, how refreshed I felt come the next day, and then preparing for Monday was amazing. And I was like, I didn't even realize that I was that exhausted. I didn't understand why was I so exhausted, but carrying these emotional weights within our body can do it to us. And so if you're tired, just rest. If you feel tension, stretch your body, get it out of you, stretch your neck, stretch your legs. If you need comfort, please lean into it. Receive the comfort of somebody. Sometimes you just need a hug. It's okay to hug somebody, right? Be gentle with yourself. Here's number 3. Breathe through it. It's another thing that I like to drive home here. Is not just giving myself permission, but also breathing through it. Sometimes these really emotional, deep things happen to us, and the first thing we do is we forget to breathe. We're like, and you have to be reminded, hey, take a breath, breathe, just breathe. So learning to do some deep breathing exercises, take some moments of stillness, and these stillness moments can really help your nervous system, honestly, with your grief, when your grief feels overwhelmed. I do want to share, I just got this book. I do like Eckhart Tolle. I just got in his book, Stillness Speaks, and I'm excited about taking time to sit in stillness, to allow inner peace to come over me and to allow that to begin to be my essence of the total being of who I am. So moments of stillness, and maybe you can get that book and sit with it, or if you're religious, there you grab your Bible and read passages, find passages that deal with what you're going through, get a devotional, use that to sit in stillness. And sometimes you don't need anything. If you've been doing stillness and quietness for a while, you should be able to have the capacity to not even need anything. Actually, you can sit in stillness and quiet. Sometimes there's a song I think I've mentioned several times, or maybe once on this podcast, about how I really enjoy Leanne Rhymes' CD, The Holy and the Human, I believe it is. And she have a few songs on there that I like to use in my stillness moments, when I am just sitting still, meditating, and just trying to regulate my nervous system when I feel anxious and overwhelmed. Okay, so acknowledge it. 2, listen to your body. 3, breathe through it. 4, move in a way that feels good. So whether it's walking, yoga, standing outside for a moment for some fresh air, any kind of movement that can help shift the energy of the body is very helpful. I know a lot of people probably don't want to exercise, but honestly, you know what? Exercising feels so good after you've done it. It is just the hardest part for us to discipline ourselves to get there. But once you get there, you realize just this simple movement for this amount of time has been so good. Or even just walking outside and getting a breath of fresh air, allowing the sun to sit on your face for a moment, can really shift the energy that's in your body. So some type of movement that feels good, try that, and it will help release the grief that's sitting in the body. And here's the last thing. Let your rituals help you. So sometimes honoring grief through a small ritual, like sometimes you can light a candle, you can go through some old photos, maybe have a meal that they enjoyed or that you enjoyed together. I know my oldest sister, she will go sometimes to Jason's Deli and get a sandwich called Amy O, because that's what my mom loved. When I had my last book release launch for my book called Begin Again, I had fried chicken there for us to eat because my mom loved fried chicken and it was released on her birthday. So these are just little things that you can do that remind you of them and can help bring a sense of connection and release as you go through those moments, right? If you're wondering, like, why do I feel this way? Why does my body react like this? I wasn't even thinking about the loss. Listen, I want you to know it's not just you. Grief is embedded in all of us and it doesn't leave. It'll change over the course of time, but it won't leave. And the body in its own way carries a story of our love and loss and healing. And that is a magnificent way to really think of it, is that what's happening inside of me is this intertwined of a love story that holds happiness, but also sorrow, but also leaves me with the love that I am able to remember within my cells, which then brings me healing. So if you're feeling the weight of an anniversary approaching, I want you to be kind to yourself. Your body is simply reminding you of how deeply you loved someone. I can't say that enough for people to know and understand. So many people I meet are afraid to allow the feelings of sorrow, sadness, and tears to come over them. But I try to help them understand it's not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you deeply love somebody, and it shows the depth of the impact of the loss of that person. You are literally honoring them at that moment and holding space for you and them in that moment. Are you grieving and feel like you're struggling alone? You don't have to walk this path by yourself. Book a virtual session with Dr. Tammy Isaac at Breathe Grief Counseling Center. Visit us online at www.breathegriefcounselingcenter.com. Dr. Isaac will help you put your emotions into words. She'll help you reduce the feeling of isolation. She'll help you understand that everyone grieves differently, and also help you prevent unhealthy coping mechanisms. Take control of your life with world-class counseling sessions today with Dr. Tammy Isaac. Grief is never just one thing. It's complex. It's not just emotional. It's not just physical, but it is also psychological and spiritual. And that becomes especially clear on milestone days, anniversaries, birthdays, and significant moments that mark time in our grief journey. And when all these layers end up colliding together, grief doesn't just sit in the heart, it sits in the mind and the soul too. It brings up old emotions, deep questions, and moments of spiritual reflection. On milestone anniversaries, our mind processes grief differently than on ordinary days. So psychologists call this time anchoring. Our brains are wired to attach strong emotions to specific dates. And when those dates come back around, it's as if we are transported back in time, reliving some of those emotions as if they were fresh. And what does this mean for us as grievers? It means that we may feel emotions more intensely than usual, even if we thought we had already processed that grief. It means we may feel a sense of comparison, wondering, am I supposed to feel better now? Have I healed enough? It may bring up regret or even guilt, reflecting on the things we wish we had said or maybe done before our loved one passed. And it may also trigger a longing for connection, not just with the person that you lost, but also others who can and will understand your pain at the time. The human brain doesn't just remember dates, it remembers the experience of the loss, which is quite magnificent. And because grief is non-linear, it doesn't matter how much time has passed. Grief anniversaries still hold weight because they are tied to love. And that's something important to remember. Your grief anniversaries still hold weight because they are tied to your love. Now, for many of us, grief is not just a psychological experience, it's also spiritual, right? So milestone grief can stir up deep spiritual questions as well. So you may have, where's my loved one now? Where's this afterlife? Or is there even an afterlife? Is it okay for me to still feel this much pain? Is it healthy, or is it a sin to keep mourning their loss? And how do I honor their memory in a way that brings peace to my soul, right? So for those of us who hold faith, anniversary grief can also bring moments of divine reflection. So when we think about Ash Wednesday, which is the date of my birth and also the date of my mom's death, the words ash, it means the Ash Wednesday is the words from dust you came and to dust you shall return, which reminds us of the frailty of human life. And while that can feel very heavy, it also offers a sacred invitation, at least for me, to, as a Christian, to pause and to reflect and to find meaning in both the sorrow of loss and the beauty of life. And the more I think of it, I see it as an opportunity to give myself permission to be able to grieve, to be sad, to cry, and take moments of stillness to myself and allow my grief to take up space. And then also to reflect on the time that I did have my mom in my life, or, times of memory that my heart holds, to also hold space for those joyous moments and to be grateful for the life that I did have, as I also am reminded of my spiritual life of having Christ Jesus, who extended his life for us, and also show the mourning of that, but also the celebration of what his life has done for us. And I think about the life that my mom had, and what she was able to produce through that life was me, was my siblings, to and to build other relationships with people that I still have because of the life that she had. And so I think that day I'll be working, of course, and it's Ash Wednesday, and many of you know that I work in a hospital and I'm a chaplain, and I'll be giving people ashes that day. One of the deacons will be here from the Catholic Church, who I will go around with as he, give those patients who want ashes. So I think it will be a whole day of reflection. And now that I'm more aware of it, I can be more intentional about what this anniversary, this birthday, and this Ash Wednesday will look like for me. I think I'll put more thought into what that will be and what it will look like for me. And I think for us, as we have these different anniversaries, that we take time to be intentional. It's a lot of what I say when we think about the holidays and the holidays that come, and how to prepare for those moments. I think not just holidays, not just Christmas and Thanksgiving, but these anniversary dates, these birthdays that are coming, to be intentional about holding space and reflecting on the joy and the sorrow that that day brings as you remember your loved one. And I think that is very healthy and a very good coping mechanism for us as we move through these types of days. One thing I've learned is that grief is definitely not a lack of faith, and many believers tend to get tripped up in this area. Because feeling sorrow doesn't mean we aren't trusting God. Feeling sorrow, I believe, is an identifying marker that there is a God, because he has put this love in me to be able to share with somebody else, that when they pass on, my God, I long for them. I love them. And Jesus himself wept at the loss of his friend. Like, we see lament all throughout scripture, proof that God never asked us to suppress our emotions, but instead to bring them actually to him, right? So sometimes on these hard milestone days, faith doesn't take away the grief, but it can hold it. It can help you hold space for it. It gives us something to lean on and something to anchor us when our emotions are feeling very much overwhelmed. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to take a moment to hold space for you, for me, for anyone carrying the weight of anniversary grief. If this conversation has stirred something in you, know that it's okay. Grief is love that has no expiration date. It doesn't follow a calendar, and it doesn't check the years that have passed. It just simply remains because love remains. And as I mentioned throughout this episode, March 5th is layered with so much complexity as it relates to grief, because it's my birthday, and also the day that I'm remembering the death of my mother, and also reflecting on Ash Wednesday. But it helps me think of something even deeper. and that is that life is fragile. That time moves forward. That we are dust and yet we are held in God's hands. Grief on milestone days can feel very heavy, but it can also be a sacred time because it's a reminder that our love was real, is real, that our memories do matter, and that even in loss, life continues. So as we navigate through our grief, whether it's anniversary, a birthday, or just an ordinary day that carries a weight that you weren't expecting, I want to leave you with these 4 thoughts. 1, you don't have to rush through grief. Give yourself time. 2, you don't have to move on. Instead, allow yourself to move forward, carrying love and memory with you. Number 3, you don't have to be okay. It is okay to be broken and whole also at the same time. And number 4, most of all, you have permission to breathe, to pause, to honor your emotions, to hold space for both sorrow and joy, for remembering and living. I pray that wherever you are, you allow yourself grace and kindness in your grief journey. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to connect with me on social media. Send me a message or share this with someone who might need it. And if you're in a moment where words fail you, just know that I see you. God sees you. Your grief matters. Your love matters. Thank you for being a part of this space with me. And until next time, take care, be gentle with your heart, and give yourself permission to breathe. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Permission to Breathe podcast. I hope today created space for you to breathe and find peace on your journey. I invite you to join me again next Monday for another episode as we continue to navigate this path together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share the podcast. Until next time, take care and keep breathing unapologetically.